Welcome to CWS Christian Writing and Speaking. I'm your host, Jackie Wilson, and today's guest is a former SEC quarterback for the Missouri Tigers. He graduated with a degree in communications and a minor in business. He is a keynote speaker, entrepreneur, best-selling author, and he challenges businesses, schools, and sports teams to maximize their potential and make a difference. He's passionate about helping high performance leaders take the next step in their leadership journey and has worked with a wide range of organizations across various industries, including the Cincinnati Reds, Bridgestone, Veterans United Homes Loan, One Coast Retailers, and many more. And today he is going to talk about how his faith was instrumental in all the things that he has accomplished thus far. Let's welcome to the CWS stage, Mr. Alex Demczak. Welcome, Alex.
Jackie, thanks so much for having me. I've heard great things about your show, so it's an honor to be here today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you've done so many wonderful things. Best-selling author. You working with a lot of large organizations and making a difference in leadership. But what we really want to know is how was your faith instrumental in all of this?
It's a great question, and I could go a lot of ways with that question. But I think a recent example is last year. So in September of 2021, I had a full-time job. Things were going great. I was in sales, and for your listeners, the last 4 years prior to that, I'd been slowly building up the speaking business, right? So I had a full-time day job, and I would then on the side do speaking engagements. So I would be at my cubicle doing home loans or whatever, and then I would, fly somewhere or drive somewhere to go speak at an event, and then go back to the cubicle. And so things were good, in a lot of ways. But in September, I started getting this kind of racing heartbeat, and I would just wake up in the morning, and all of a sudden, heart was racing. I'm like, this is so weird. In all my years of sports, I've never had anything like this. And so I go to the doctor, they do an EKG, and they're like, everything looks fine. But they're like, what are you doing for work? What are you doing work-wise? And I named off the 8 things I was trying to do all at once. And they're like, well, that's your problem. And they said, you need to either scale back or this is going to scale you back. And so they actually referred me. I had a friend who was a Christian counselor that they referred me to. And I went to this counselor, never been to a counselor before, but he pretty much told me, he's like, look, Alex, you're trying to do 6 or 7 things really well. You need to do like 2 things really well. First your faith, then be a good dad and a good husband, and then be good at your job. And that's about it. That's all you can really handle. And that's what most people can handle. And you're trying to do it all. And so that was really good for me to hear. And so that led me in September to start really praying and be introspective of like, God, what are you calling me to do? Because I can't do it all. I feel like I have a million plates spinning. And deep down, I'd wanted to be full-time self-employed for years. Like I'd been building this side hustle, you could call it, of something I was super passionate about. And so what's cool for your listeners, if there's anyone out there that's thinking, oh man, I would love to quit and go for it someday. It wasn't just a thing I woke up and did overnight, right? It was for 4 to 5 years, I had this side hustle that I tried to get good at. I tried to get myself around people that were in it. I tried to do all I could to learn. And, pretty much going into year 5, finally, December 21st of 2021 is when I walked out of my day job for the last time. And it's crazy. It was unbelievable to make that jump. And so now we're about 6 months after that, 6, 7 months of me being self-employed. And I've never looked back, and I hope I never go back to corporate America. But again, if someone's listening and they work in corporate America, that's great. That's, it's a good fit for you. It just wasn't for me. And it's been unbelievable to go all in on my writing and speaking business. And I mean, I was at Dave Ramsey's studio 3 days ago, someone that I've looked up to so much. And there's just so many things that when you truly put yourself out there, it's unbelievable how God can use you in ways that you never even thought. When I was trying to do both things, when I was employed and then doing my side hustle, Jackie, here's when I knew I had to make the jump. So I would get to the point where I would, remember I had a W-2 income, I had a normal job, but I would receive a speaking inquiry on my website. Like someone would reach out and say, hey, Alex, we want you to come speak to this group. And I got to the point last year where I would get a request and I would get stressed out by it. I would think, oh, how am I going to fit this in around my work schedule? And I had to stop myself and say, wait a minute, God has blessed me with a platform. He has given me the skills and abilities to be able to go out and, just like many of your listeners, to go out and speak and encourage people. And now I'm not even looking forward to it. And that's when I had to pause and put on the brakes and say, I need to reassess some things. And so now the beautiful thing is, obviously, like any job, there's certain stressors that you have, but now I can be present. I can go all in with the clients that I'm able to work with. I was like I said, Nashville this week speaking to a company, and I was with the Space Force the week before, and all these amazing things where if I still wanted to hold on to this crutch of my job, I wouldn't be present. I wouldn't be able to go all in with these clients. And so I think for anyone listening that's going that direction, number one, you have to be open to what God's calling you to do. I would also say wise counsel was really helpful for me. I had 12 people in my life, family members, friends, full-time speakers, full-time mortgage professionals that I went to, and I said, hey, here are my numbers. Here's what I'm considering. I want to be wise about this. What do you think I should do? And 12 out of 12 people said, Alex, you need to go for it and not look back. And that was super affirming for me. It wasn't just a blind thing. You know, I have a mortgage payment. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and my wife stays home. So from the world standards, it probably wasn't the best time to make a jump, right, during a pandemic. But you know, I think that's where it comes back to the faith piece that you asked about. It's trusting God, saying, God, you've given me this runway. Will I walk in it, and will I be faithful? Not that I do it perfectly, because I don't, but I've just been trying to trust him as I've launched out into this new venture the last 6 to 7 months.
Yeah. And you're also helping leaders do the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So during in the last 2 years, I started a company called Streamlined Books, and people can check it out at writemybooks.com. And what we do is we help people write, edit, and publish their book in a 16-week process. And like a lot of people that are probably listening, you've had this thought in your mind, like, I want to write a book someday, you know, and it's kind of like a bucket list item. But what's really fun for my co-founder, Will Severns, and I, is we've created this process. We have project managers, writers, and editors who, you know, have boiled it down to a 16-week process to where, you know, people who've always wanted to write a book can now say, hey, it's an achievable thing that I can do.
Yeah. And what would you say to the Christian community right now if they're thinking about it but kind of are still on the edge of whether or not they should go for it?
Yeah, we believe that everyone has a book in them, and even if you're a business owner, we think that the business card is dead. Whenever I travel somewhere, I always will have a copy of my book somewhere. I always have, you know, if I'm on an airplane, I'm able to engage in conversation. Now I can hand someone my book, and we really love creating that for other people. So yeah, I would say if there's any listeners out there that are like, oh, I've always wanted to do this, I don't know where to start, we would love to help you. We would love to engage in that process with you and just get on a Zoom call and talk about it. So it's writemybooks.com.
Alex, what is next for you?
Wow, well, that's a great question. You know, the sale, is my new book that I just came out with. Like you said, it just hit the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list. Super humbling to be up there on a list with people like Brene Brown, Dave Ramsey, Jocko, all these big names that I'm not worthy of being up on there. But the sale has been really fun. That's the name of our new book, and it's about character and integrity. And so specifically, I mean, being able to speak at churches and faith events, and kind of the next year or two, I'll really be on my book launch. And that's the thing. You don't just write a book and then all of a sudden people knock down your door and say, hey, come speak here. You still have to put in the groundwork, right? But yeah, I think for me, what's next is continuing to push the sale book launch, and just traveling all over the country to speak. I do a ton of speaking engagements, which I love. And then also writemybooks.com. They would just work so hand in hand together. Sometimes I'll go be at a speaking engagement and someone will walk off, I'll walk off the stage and someone will say, hey, I want to write a book. Can you help me? And so it's cool how they kind of feed each other. But those are my passions. It's, helping people achieve kind of their dream of writing a book, but then also speaking and encouraging people to pursue what they feel like God is calling them to do.
Yeah, that is so wonderful, Alex. Please tell people how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. Well, my personal website is alexspeaking.com. So alexspeaking.com. And then for anyone who's interested about the book writing process and just wants to have a conversation with our team, you can check out writemybooks.com.
Yeah. So, Alex, before we end today's episode, give people the final word. What do you want them to walk away with from this interview?
The final word, it's a great question. The final word I would say is this: think about what you want to be doing 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And if you can get in that mindset of thinking, okay, right now I'm in this job that I don't enjoy, but 20 years from now, here's what I want to be doing. I think it has to start there. And you start praying and say, God, help me move in that direction. Open up doors in my life that will allow me. And guess what? If it's a closed door, then show that to me. Show me where I should go. And I think when you have that mindset of thinking about maybe your future life that you're dreaming about while you're still employed, it's like, trust that God will open up doors, that He will allow you to pursue these things. But then you have to be faithful. Then you have to put yourself out there. Then you have to be willing to show up at a stage or an audience with people you don't know, and people that maybe are giving you a weird look when you walk in. And it's just trusting that God has a plan, and then just trusting in his plan. That's sometimes the hardest part, but what we're called to do in this life.
Yeah. Alex, thank you so much. People, you heard it from Alex. Don't wait until the 20 years has passed. Start thinking about it now, making plans, and walk faithfully in that journey. Until next time, God bless, beautiful people.
Thanks, Jackie.